So today I am joined by a four-time Survivor player, the winner of Survivor Blood vs. Water, Tyson Apostol. Tyson, thanks so much for taking the time today. But we're not here to talk about Survivor. You've been cast on the Challenge USA, which airs on July 6th on CBS. And Tyson, first thing I got to ask you, how did you land on the challenge? I mean, were you just looking for a reality TV opportunity in the competitive realm or what?
No, it's the opposite. They were looking for me.
That's fair. Yeah. Do you find that that's been kind of your casting journey with CBS?
I mean, after you go on a show one time and that you're likable, I think there's a few things that it's chalked up to. Like, obviously I have a winning personality, and I can narrate a show. I can do all those things. I have great confessionals, but also I'm very easy to work with. I'm not really a diva. If we get out there, I respect that cameramen are at the very least my coworkers, if not my overseers to a certain degree and things like that. So like, I always respect those people out there. And I think that makes it easy for CBS to come crawling back season after season. And to be honest, the challenge, like casting, pushed pretty hard. And the day I've been talking to them for like a year, almost since last summer for sure, they reached out. And when I finally said yes, like 3 weeks before leaving, you could hear like the sigh of relief on that casting person's voice. And she's like, oh, thank God. Oh my gosh. We didn't know if you were going to do it. So, I mean, when you look at the cast, it's like me and then nobody else. So I was like the guy that had to be there.
So, okay, so that actually brings up a good point. So I was just watching a clip. It was one of the challenge promo pieces that they've been dropping on their Instagram. And there's TJ Lavin on it. And he said that he has his eyes on you specifically, Tyson. And he said that you're the guy to beat. Do you think that, well, first of all, that's big praise from someone like TJ who doesn't freely give that out. Do you think that that's how people viewed you as well? Like going onto the show, like you're a big reality TV star in your own right, but you're also a physical competitor. You're known for being physical. So how do you think other people perceived you coming onto the show?
I mean, you have to definitely take that into account, but also like, look at these lines on my face, bro. I'm 43 now. Like the first time I went on Survivor, I was 28. I've been doing this thing for 15 years. At some point, I'm going to be too old to spank these youngsters in these little carnival games. I don't think this is the moment, but at some point it's going to happen. So I'm hoping that people kind of take that into consideration. Like I'm a dad now, like the most physical thing I do in general in my life is play pickleball once or twice a week. And then I pick my kids up. Like that's my weight training, is putting my kids on my shoulders or, picking them up, stuff like that. So I don't do a lot of exercise, but in my favor is 20 years of professional and amateur cycling, a lifetime of swimming, NCAA, the Division I swimming. And if that muscle memory just holds up, like I hear a lot of people talking about like, oh, I jogged 3 miles once a day. And so I have endurance. I was like, 3 miles is not even a warm up, dude. Like I'm jogging, like if I wanted to have like an adventure on a jog, I'd go out and jog like 30 miles, NBD.
Have you noticed a difference between when you were 28 and 43 now? I mean, obviously physically, you're not probably in your prime anymore. How would you view yourself, I guess, physically going onto the show compared to the younger Tyson?
I mean, the younger Tyson would definitely spank at everything. Like nobody's getting close to the younger Tyson. And I think on Tocantins, when you watch it back and you see the reaction of the opposing tribe being like, that skinny guy is unbeatable. Like I was unbeatable at that time and people underestimated me because I was so thin, but it's all about strength to weight ratio. And I was at the peak of peaks right there. Like when Jeff Probst asked me to sum up who I was in one sentence in casting, I said, hey, I'm self-aware enough to know I should never say this out loud, but you asked. And he was like, oh, this is going to be good. I could see him like rubbing his hands, like waiting for it. And I was like, I know that I'm better at almost everything than almost everybody. And he was like, wow, okay, I think we get it now. And like, I put my money where my mouth was. Like I walked the walk. So like, I'm hoping that just because of my age and because I'm physically not built like I was 10, 15 years ago, maybe people will underestimate me in that capacity. Also, an advantage is that I've lived a life now. Like I have so much life experience compared to a lot of these other people in the house, even the people my age, like haven't done the things I've done. And so socially and being able to manipulate and get people to like, join me is probably a lot easier than it would have been 10, 15, 20 years ago when I didn't have as much experience as I do now.
So when you're talking about like social dynamics in the house, now you're playing the Challenge USA with players on Survivor that you've been with before, and world winners.
I mean, I wouldn't say I was with them.
Yeah, you're physically with them on the island, but
yes.
Yeah, you're with Sarah, I guess, who voted you out twice. Then you're with Ben. I think he voted you out once. So these are not people you played with, but now you're in a house with them. You're from the Survivor community. You've been on the island with them. How was that dynamic walking in there? Did you kind of have a chip on your shoulder? Did you think, well, maybe I can work with these guys? How did that go?
I mean, I have to try and work with them. I don't necessarily have a chip on my shoulder. It's just like their personality and my personality don't really mix well. I mean, to act like an entitled brat when things aren't in your favor is not like a look I love to see. And Ben and Sarah are very famous at being able to throw a tantrum when things aren't going the way they wanted them to go. And so for me, I'm like, okay, I know they're bratty, but that's only going to hurt them and maybe help me. And if I can corral them in, and if when they rage and anger, it's in my favor, then that could also be used as a weapon. So for me, I was like, I'd rather not deal with their tantrums, but I also understand that that's reality TV, and watching back some of the challenge on MTV, I knew that was something I was going to have to deal with.
Speaking about watching the challenge, did you watch the challenge in the past, or did you start watching it to get before you went onto the show?
I just started watching some of it to go on to get ready for the show.
Okay. Now are you would you say you're a fan of the show? Like, is it something you'd watch now? Like
no.
No. No.
I mean,
yeah. Do you watch Survivor? Or do you watch every season?
Yeah, because I podcast about it every week. I podcast for The Ringer, which is owned by Spotify, and so we do coverage every single week. So in a way, you and I are competing, Stephen.
Okay, well, bring it on. So you brought up pickleball. Now, Tyson, fans that know that you're the biggest pickleball superstar in the world. Mm-hmm. So how playing pickleball, how does that transfer into the challenge? Are you can you take skills in from pickleball? I don't know much about pickleball, to be honest.
I mean, pickleball is quick. It's eye-hand coordination, so there's a lot of eye-hand quickness. Also, it gives you some aerobic capacity. I'm naturally very strong at endurance. So if I have anything that just maintains that endurance just a little bit, then I'm going to be like still 3 times better than the second person. And so, sure, it's kept me active. Going into this thing, I also hired a private Brazilian jiu-jitsu instructor just to, get ready if I had to do any grappling, or at least tell people about it so they'd be more weary of grappling with me. And then I also started jogging with a weight vest, doing a lot of pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, body weight stuff. And I may not have a ton of muscle, but all of my muscle is functional, which a lot of these guys going in, their muscle is just dead weight. They're just like, I just am trying to attract someone that will love me, and for a night or for a lifetime, either one. And my muscle is all functional. Like if there's a muscle on my body, it has a purpose other than just looking cool.
Is that a shot at the Love Island people or what?
No, I mean, it's just a shot. It's just a shot at people who just go to the gym to go to the gym.
Yeah. Like
if I'm working out, there's a purpose behind it to improve my performance somewhere else in something in my life.
Fair enough. So now obviously with the challenge, the elimination part of it is typically the biggest part of the show. There's some of the biggest moments ever in the challenge history is because of the elimination. Going into the show, and once you've kind of learned what the format is and what these eliminations are going to look like, was there something that you were hoping for specifically? Like you're looking for probably endurance maybe, or you're looking for something physical, puzzles, what?
I'm pretty good at everything. Physical, I mean, obviously, if you have somebody with a lot more weight behind them than me, that's going to be an issue. Like slapping foreheads against each other. That's not even my thing. Like, I don't really like people touching me in general. And so like I can wrestle if I have to. And I usually surprise myself. I'm like, oh, I'm actually not bad at wrestling, but I don't prefer it. And so those ones I'm like, I have to be socially strong enough in the house that I can avoid being put in those situations. Endurance wise, I'm going to smoke everybody every single time. Swimming, I'm going to smoke everybody every single time. Puzzles, 90% favorite. And so it's like everything else is like totally fine. It's just being put in a contest of pure strength that only lasts 3 seconds versus somebody who has more mass than me. And that's like literally the only thing that I'm not going to be the pure favorite in every time.
So got a hypothetical for you here, Tyson. Okay. So probably the most famous elimination is the pole wrestle. I know you just said that you're not the biggest fan of wrestling, but you did hire a BJJ coach. I mean, you could probably throw a triangle.
And I also did train the pole wrestling with him specifically. We got a pole, we held on to it. This guy is 260 pounds of muscle, jiu-jitsu guy. And that was the one thing when I was calling around trying to find an instructor, I was like, I need somebody bigger than me, stronger than me. And they were like, this guy's 6'5", 250 pounds. And I was like a butterfly to him. Like he was just like, but we did a lot of like the ball wrestling thing where you're trying to so we did a lot of that where you're trying to pry the ball out of somebody's hands. And then we also did a lot of the pole. What's that one called?
Pole wrestle. Yeah.
Pole wrestling. Oh, it's super easy. It's like what the Pilgrims did for fun. So I did a lot of that and learned how to peel someone's hand off with your knee or twist it in a way that their wrists get tangled up and, or just smack their hands off of it. So, we did a lot of that, but my number one goal was to avoid any situation where I had a large probability of not winning. And even that one with all the training I was doing, if you were put against someone like that's just way bigger than you, that's going to be kind of an issue probably. So I was like, I'll rely socially on my prowess there to hopefully avoid elimination, because I think that's the number one thing. And then if I ever get put in those situations, hopefully it's something that's at least, a fair contest. That's one of the things with these is that it's not a fair contest a lot of times. On Survivor, it's most generally fair for size, doesn't really play an advantage. Strength, it doesn't necessarily, it's a lot of balance, a lot of puzzles, a lot of eye hand, a lot of things that anybody from any build can compete at.
Yeah. So back to the pole wrestle, Tyson, if there was one survivor, and they didn't have to be cast onto this season, the Challenge USA, if there's one survivor that you would enjoy facing in a pole wrestle, especially now that you've learned some of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu art, is there someone that you would like to face off with from your past?
I mean, out of spite or out of enjoyment?
I mean, it could be both, really.
I mean, Boston Rob and I have a very good rapport and we enjoy competing against each other. I think there'd be lots of laughs and lots of trash talk. So I think that would be fun just because he's a good friend. And I think it would be fun for people to see. If it's out of spite, man, I don't know. Because it would have to be somebody that I feel like I could beat so that I could really rub it in their face. And so then you have to cut it down to a pool where I have to most assuredly be able to crush them, which I don't know. The Boston Rob answer, we'll stick with that.
You mentioned Boston Rob. Obviously, you guys have played together multiple times. You were just on Winners at War together. Someone like Boston Rob, is there any other player from Survivor that you kind of wish was cast on this season, the challenge, or that you would like to see be cast on a new season or another season of the challenge?
I don't necessarily think that Boston Rob is built for the challenge. I think endurance wise, he's lacking. I think he's strong enough. He's surprisingly strong and he's surprisingly agile. He's like 3 or 4 years older than me, but I think endurance, you have to have endurance. You have to have like the ability to keep refiring. And I don't think that he necessarily has that. Doesn't mean he can't get it, but I don't know. On Survivor, who would be good? Is that what your question was?
Yeah, exactly. That you would like to see as a fan as well.
I mean, anybody that's not me. I like watching my friends on TV. So anybody that I love that wants to do the challenge, then I would like to see them do the challenge. But it's also not for everybody.
Yeah. How about someone like a Tony? You're out there. How about, I mean, maybe Coach might be a little too old now, but how about a Coach or a Tony?
Coach is good. He's just good TV. Tony, I mean, same. But I think Tony would also struggle in the endurance aspect. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because the challenge, I think, is a slower game. I think Tony would spin his wheels getting antsy and he would get on everybody's nerves real quick. And you don't have to in the challenge because a handful of people make it to the end. So it's not like you have to like position yourself with a bunch of chumps near the end to then win. You just have to get in a group of 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 or whatever is going to run the final. And so that dynamic is different. I think a lot of Survivor contestants that go to the challenge don't understand that and will scramble pretty hard early to build an alliance that doesn't necessarily need to be as solid as the alliances need to be on Survivor.
Did you find that you had to adapt quite a bit just with your going in there with your Survivor head? Did you have to kind of adapt to the new way of being on this reality show?
No, I think part of it is that like physically I'm pretty confident in who I am. So I was like, if I have to go in elimination, I'll just do my best and hopefully it's something that suits me. And I also know that a lot of people are threatened by me. I don't know if it's my looks, my personality, my stature. I'm 6'3", so it could be that. But whatever it is, like I have to downplay all of that. So I can't go in guns a-blazing. Like somebody smaller and, maybe a little more pathetic than I am could definitely like go in and like try and scramble a little harder. But for me, already being viewed a threat, just walking through the doors, I have to disarm everybody as much as possible and make people think like, oh, he's just here to like hang out and make jokes.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times like, here's something for people who have never played one of these games that is going to play a game. If you just sit around, people come to you and it doesn't look bad at all. But if you scramble and are trying to whisper in everybody's ears, everybody sees that.
Yeah.
So just let the game come to you.
Fair enough. Wise words. And last one for you here, Tyson. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this. If CBS gives you a call and they say, hey, Tyson, we want you back on Survivor. We need you. Are you back on Survivor? Are you going to keep playing until they stop calling you or what?
No, I'm done.
Done?
Yep.
Are
no
you
reason for me to go back? What's the point?
Second win? More money?
I mean, I might make more money not going.
Fair enough. Are you open to other reality show calls, or is it kind of you did the challenge and now you're going to focus on the pickleball career and your family and everything?
Yeah, I don't know. I did the challenge. It was a long time to be away from my kids. And to be honest, like reality TV isn't necessarily as fulfilling as it used to be. And I'm over a 12, 15 year career of playing reality TV carnival games. Like at some point, like the excitement and novelty of it isn't necessarily there for me. Plus, like my kids are at an age where I need to be here to watch them grow up and to help them grow up. And like, why go out and help like young former Big Brother contestants grow up when I should be raising my own children? So there's that. And then it's like, yeah, I don't know. I just, I feel like I've earned the right to not have to be roommates with people I despise.